May 1st, and yes, it is May, and the weather seems nice outside. I don't know how long that'll last. I think we're getting May showers or the April showers a day late, maybe. I don't know. But as we always like to do, let's start with Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Priority Carol, I think we're on the right today.
Okay, I think so.
So you were first.
I'm up. Good morning, Carroll County. We just attended a prayer breakfast meeting put on by the Carroll County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff DeWeese, and it was wonderful. So I want to thank all those folks again for that. And I want to thank Pleasant Valley Volunteer Fire Company for hosting it again. Just a couple quick announcements and a couple comments. So as many parents and grandparents are aware, we are in the middle of prom season here in Carroll County. So I just want to remind everybody to be safe and be smart. As parents, we know that there is typically some level of drinking going on by underage kids. It happens. It's wrong, but it happens. So I would remind all the parents, and I doubt some of the kids are watching. I'd love to think that some of the high schoolers are watching our meetings, but I doubt it. I just want to remind them, be safe and be smart. And I think all of us up here, we've spent time with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office out on the roads, running, doing some of their shifts. And I can assure you, if you decide to get behind a wheel and drink and get behind a wheel, they know. They're out there looking for you. Don't make that mistake. Don't put yourself in danger. Don't put other drivers in danger, and don't risk your future. I firmly believe, having spent time with some of them, they can take a look at a vehicle, and 9 times out of 10, they know exactly what's going on. So you can't hide it. So please be safe. I also want to make a couple of brief comments. MPRP, the Powerline project, is very much in the news right now. And as some people are aware, if we're in Baltimore County, roughly 90 to 110 landowners, I can't really tell exactly what the number is, they've received a court order from Maryland District Judge to respond to PSEG's court order to allow PSEG surveyors onto their property without their permission. It seems unfair. It seems un-American that you would be forced to allow people onto your property without your permission, but that is exactly what's going on. Something is really amiss here in our state, that now we've got that as a major effort by a private entity to force landowners to allow people on their property when they've explicitly said no. So this is starting in Baltimore County, and my understanding is that the next round of court orders might be in Carroll County and then Frederick County. And we're talking about hundreds of landowners, and they've been forced to get legal representation to respond to these court orders, sometimes within less than 21 days. So that just seems completely unfair to me. And I also wanted to mention, and I haven't talked about MPRP a whole lot lately, but I'm irritated and frustrated that still in the news, you've got officials from PSEG trying to explain to people in Carroll County that without these power lines going through our state, that we're going to lose power, that we're going to have brownouts, that this is to the benefit of the people of the county. I have never seen that, and I still believe that that's not true. It's very frustrating to see when you go online, do your own research about PJM, the company that overseeing the entire project. They have been responsible for decommissioning oil power plants, coal power plants. In fact, they even brag about it. They've done so through the entire region. And now to constantly be told by officials with PSEG that if you don't approve these power lines, if you don't let us own our property, if you don't let us put them through the county, Carroll Countyans are going to suffer. That to me is an untruth, and I've yet to see that as a truth. And they keep repeating it over and over again. So I'm sure some of my colleagues, they may mention MPRP this morning. It's something we talk about constantly. We are still monitoring the situation, obviously. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, again, it is really a sad state to see this happening in our state. I was born and raised here. Things have certainly changed over the past 20, 30 years. Change is inevitable. But I can't help but think that Maryland has truly lost its way when it is forcing landowners in 3 counties, whether it's the state or it's a district judge. This shouldn't be happening. It should not be happening, but yet it is happening. So we continue to be supportive of MPRP, to stop MPRP and the various groups and citizens out there that are fighting for their rights. We stand by you. I stand by you. It does affect my district, which is District 4, the southwestern part of the county. There's still a plan to go through the northern portion of that. So again, I stand behind you. We stand behind you. We're monitoring this situation, and we will not give up. We will not abandon you. We are sticking with you through this whole entire process, this whole entire fight. Thank you. That's it.
Good morning, Carroll County. I'm going to be relatively brief this morning. Just got a couple of things I wanted to mention. On Monday evening, myself, Commissioner Kyler, and Commissioner Rothstein were at Taste of Carroll at the Stratosphere. Wonderful event as always, which of course it's a culinary event to support Bridging Life Hospice and palliative care. I think those individuals are truly the living embodiment of angels when it comes to looking out for those in hospice. So it was quite the event. I think it was a significant turnout of at least, I heard somewhere around 800 is the number I'd heard rumored. But always a great time, good time to see various people in the community, interact with our restaurants, but of course support hospice and palliative care. Also this week, on Tuesday, all 5 county commissioners were at the Carroll County Department of Fire and EMS inaugural awards event, and that was a awards event that was both for career and volunteer. So it was great to see a wide group of individuals that are fire and EMS in our community as a whole, not career, but career and volunteer. So always good to see and hear some of the important and significant life-saving situations that they've been a part of in the past year, and truly appreciative of everything they do for us in the community. And last but certainly not least, I want to give a heartfelt congratulations. Those of us that know Dean Brewer, who recently has been with the Carroll County State's Attorney's Office. Dean's retiring after 10 years at the office with 48 years in law enforcement. True testament to his professionalism and positivity, and just an all-around great individual in our community. My understanding, he's going to be spending more time, well-deserved time with his family and grandchildren, and want to wish him the best. So, Dean, good luck on retirement, and that's all for me.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Commissioner. The first thing I'll do is I want to associate myself with Commissioner Guerin's comments about the Sheriff's Prayer Breakfast. It was very, very well done, and always grateful to be among our citizens and the men and women who protect our county in various ways. I also want to associate myself with Commissioner Guerin's comments about the Maryland Piedmont Reliability Project. He's absolutely correct. We have not stopped paying attention to it, and we are going to stand with our citizens through the very end. I will also hop on Commissioner Gordon's comments about the first annual Department of Fire and Emergency Services Awards ceremony the other night at Flood Zone in Union Bridge. It was a very well done, very professional ceremony. My congratulations to everyone who earned an award that evening. And I also want to specifically compliment Chief Robinson on the combination department that he is overseeing in such an incredibly professional way. And I also want to compliment Lieutenant Mike Karolenko, who organized the ceremony, put everything together down to the design of the actual awards and the programs that were being given out that night. So he did an excellent job, everybody did, and I look forward to the second annual one next year. So I did not, unfortunately, get out to New Windsor Saturday morning for their town beautification day because that was canceled due to the rain. They are rescheduling it for this Saturday at 8 a.m., so if you're interested in volunteering to help beautify the town, you gather at City Hall at 8 o'clock a.m., and you'll be doing things like putting in flowers, shrubs, things of that nature for the season. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend due to a prior engagement, but I certainly hope to get out for that event next year. I did have the opportunity later on in the day when it stopped raining to participate in park beautification for the city of Tawnytown. I teamed up with the mayor to clean up Roberts Mill Park and Pond. It's always a really wonderful event that these towns do every year to clean themselves up for the season. Last but not least, I want to point out that, especially beginning this coming week, all of our municipalities are going to begin holding their elections. And if you live within a municipal boundary, make sure you check to see when you have the opportunity to vote. There are a lot of important decisions and issues which affect citizens at the most local levels on a daily basis, and these often have wider implications, such as cooperation and communication with the county, with the state, with the federal government even. So it's incredibly important to participate and to vote, and I pray the best for everybody who is seeking an office and to encourage every citizen living in a municipality to get out and vote. And that's all for me this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, a few things. One is, this past Friday, I was honored to MC the Battle of the Books down in Century High School. It was all the elementary schools in that area have teams, or they put together teams. They read a handful of books from the fall, from the beginning of the school year, and then it ends with this, this battlefield on the gym floor of these teams dressed up in different costumes representing their schools, and I don't know, a few hundred kids on the gym floor, a few hundred more families and parents in the stands. Becomes a very hot room, but definitely well worth it. There was a lot of energy in that room, and honestly, emceeing it and walking around and asking the questions and having the ability to say with a straight face words like boogers and farts is always a pleasure. So it was great. Congratulations to all the kids that participated. Congratulations to the library for packaging this every year along with our great school system. It just shows, again, a wonderful partnership of our community, and it's been going on quite some time. I've been doing it quite some time, so congratulations to all the kids and competitors as well. Taste of Carol, we talked about. If I remember, last night I'm a proud lion, Freedom's Lion Club, and last night we had our veteran celebration, about 100 some odd folks, and I shared a few words, but more importantly, Allison, what's her name? Not Markowski.
Oh my gosh, you told me this morning and
I just forgot her last name. It's horrible. Allison. She is a wonderful woman, a Marine Corps veteran herself. Her son was killed in action in Afghanistan, basically the same time I was in Afghanistan, but he was in one place, I was obviously in another. She is a incredible, valuable volunteer for our hospice program, the Bridging Life, or what used to be Dove House. And she shared some of her insight of being a volunteer and the work she does. It was very, very powerful. And again, just another testament to Carroll County when you have the hospital, which is a, business, and you have the community, and you have the government, you have everybody, all the volunteer organizations, nonprofits, they're all coming together, focused on taking care of community. So thank you again, Allison, for your words and everybody that was in attendance for that. Tonight, I'll be attending the Carroll County Planning Academy. I believe a couple of us will be there as well. Look forward again. Long-term vision of Carroll County is not done by the dais, myself and colleagues up here. It's done by you collectively with your insight and input to allow us to have long-term vision on where we want Carroll County to be. And can't do it without you. Collectively, I look forward to listening and learning for what you have to say this evening. And again, thank you to our team that is led by Daphne Daly and all of her folks in packaging this. I look forward to a great opportunity this evening. It wasn't said yet, but on Monday, the AIB, which is a task force that focuses on, our public school systems across the state, granted a waiver for Carroll County Public Schools regarding the blueprint. And that doesn't mean that the mandates of the blueprint that are set by the state are going away. What it means, it gives the county breathing room for a couple of years to get us from where we are to where these mandates want us to be. The reason we're doing that, and the reason the request was there, is we do it really well in Carroll County Public Schools. We're ahead of the game, and for mandates to be put on top of us while we're ahead of the game creates a kind of an unfair situation. And so now I'm really proud that the school leadership did what they did in requesting the waiver. I'm very proud of, again, the work and partnership from us and the state and all those involved, especially the community. One of the first things the AIB said is, in order to grant this waiver, we need to see a few things. One of them was the outreach from CCPS, and they did that with the town halls, with also us participating. But I think the most vital part of it, of creating the solution, was there were over 1,300 correspondence from the community to the AIB before they had to make a decision. And that, I believe, had a very strong impact. So again, it ain't done by the Board of Education by themselves or the CCPS leadership. It's done by the community. So congratulations to everybody engaged. And it's not where we're going to stop. It's just, it's a journey that we got to continue to move forward with. The last thing, apologies taking a little bit of time, is on Sunday, May 4th, 12 to 4, is an opportunity for us to gather at the Farm Museum for a veteran celebration. It'll be the 4th annual veteran celebration. It's just a great opportunity, static displays. There'll be different booths to learn about the different programs in our community serving our veterans. There'll be music there from the Westminster Band, along with Midnight Run, which I believe has its own following. I think they were there last year before. Very good, a lot of fun. It's food, beer, kids' activities, lots of fun things. It's not just for veterans, it's for the community to reach out and say thank you, which are the two most important words to a veteran and the veteran's family. So look forward to seeing as many of you as possible. And the weather will be perfect, whether it is wet sunshine or without. And I just look forward to the event. So, and again, congratulations to all those volunteers putting this together. I'm done.
Thank you. And I've got a lot of things, but most of them have been covered, so I'll be quick. Breakfast, prayer breakfast, great way to start the day. And Rhonda and I spent the weekend with two of our grandkids, and that's always great. It was Grandparents' Day at their school, and they're located in Denver, so it was a great long weekend with them. Taste of Carroll, we've already talked about. Great place, great rate dealings, and they do so many good things for the community, but it's also a great networking night. So many people there that you got to talk to that you don't see all the time, and it just was great. And speaking of hospice, we dealt with them over the last week or so. Mel Block, who was married to my sister-in-law, so I don't know quite what that makes him to me. He passed, and I was honored to be one of the pallbearers at a veteran's funeral on Tuesday. And I want to thank Mel was a Marine and a police, retired from police force. Great guy, caring guy. And I just want to thank Eckhart's Funeral Home, Garrison Forest and Veterans Cemetery. I did not get to talk to the two Marines that helped with the service, but they were so professional and so perfect. So I just want to thank all of them. We did our joint BOE meeting last Thursday, and that was great. I want to thank Rachel Heiss, the AIB committee, for their waiver on Monday. And I just want to mention a couple things. Carroll County Public Schools has been voicing concerns about Blueprint back when it was still the Kerwin Commission. I know there's a number of people in Carroll County that only heard about Blueprint this year when it affected their children, and I understand that. But they need to understand. I keep hearing negativity that Carroll County Public Schools didn't care about this. They were the first county to voice concerns, and early on, some of the bigger counties actually said, oh, no, it won't be a problem. Well, now they all recognize it is, and I just want to give credit to Rachel Heiss, who during the several years of fighting, I probably haven't been complimentary, but thank you very much for seeing the uniqueness of Carroll County Public Schools and why they needed it. And Dr. Kerwin, I was very critical of him and his committee. I've got to say, he did say, oh, well, he was out of the country Monday, so he was quoted as saying, I recognize that Blueprint does not match every county in Carroll County, and they are unique. Back during the committee, the statement was made, we're creating the perfect school for the state of Maryland. Well, I'm so happy that he and the committee recognize that perfect school for the state doesn't exist. It's 24 jurisdictions, and they each need the perfect school. So again, thank them. I want to thank Carroll County Public Schools. I want to thank the delegation who was active about this in Annapolis. And I want to thank the commissioners who, and when we vote on something, sometimes we have discussions and we're not always unanimous, but still the Carroll County Commissioners made the decision to support the Carroll County Public School budget. And I know AIB, some of the delegation, and some people outside of our delegation in Annapolis were watching our meetings, and I think how we funded the schools definitely helped get that waiver, and I want to thank the guys setting up here for that. Fire and EMS awards, they were awesome. We had a meeting yesterday with Congressman Johnny O, and that was awesome. And it's interesting. He followed Dutch, and Dutch wasn't Carroll County for a lot of years. He was at the end. And one of the things that the congressman said yesterday is he's making sure the things Dutch did last year still happen. With all the cuts going on, he's trying to make sure they still happen. And we talked some other subjects, but that was great. Last night I did a solar hearing, and the property owners of this location are friends, and I hope they understand. My position is that this isn't a good site for solar. It's 22 acres, and they're going to do 13 acres of solar. and there's neighbors less than 100 feet away. And I'm not sure what PSC is going to do, but the one thing that I've learned with all of the hearings that I've been part of, the judges, the attorneys there, they're listening. And we need, like CCPS and Blueprint, we need to keep talking. We need to keep saying what our position is. What disappoints me, and I hear from some of Annapolis, the fact that they've established a 50% goal for renewable energies in a couple years is how they justify this. Well, when you set an unrealistic, unattainable goal, that doesn't justify anything. Somebody needs to wake up and move forward in a positive way. And I'm very concerned about our environment. We have the largest rooftop solar in Hampstead that it may be throughout the state, maybe throughout part of the country. So we're not anti-solar, but doesn't belong on ag, and I'm all about property rights, but when you violate your neighbor's property rights, that's not always a good thing. I also went to Ted's last
Budget Roadshow.
Ted's roadshow on the budget and last night, and that was good. 15 plus people there, good questions. A couple people continued to ask questions. And the one thing I want to say about our budget, and particularly Carroll County Public Schools, I recognize some people don't understand all of the details of it. And that's, I'm not sure I understand all of the details of it. But when you've been answered 10 times on the correct answer, I get quite tired of people demanding that us or staff explain it again. It's like us dealing with 3 kids. Well, I'm not very patient. After the first time, they have a warning, and then after that, it's over. Now, we've been more tolerant with this, but and I've got to say, none of your concern about your kids gets you the right to violate the rules of this building, the rules of this meeting, come and disrupt things just because you think you're more important than the rest of the world. And a couple of them have actually broken laws. And I understand, but you're not getting the ears of people when you violate laws. You need to do it respectfully. And Sunday, we hope we see everybody out there regardless of the weather. I hope it's good. And then lastly, on a very good note, and I think we have a photo, Manchester Valley girls lacrosse. They are 3-year county champions. They are ranked #1 as a public school in the country, in the United States. They're 11-0 this season. They've lost only 3 games in the past 4 years, and their last game for this season, regular scheduled game, they'll still have postseason, is tonight at Man Valley against Hereford at 5 p.m. And sports in Carroll County have been pretty successful overall. Girls lacrosse and girls softball, and I apologize to all the other sports, but those two have a lot of D1 athletes and have a lot of success. And I think this team is maybe the high point of that success. I know some of the schools in the southern part of the county have been state champs. I don't know if anybody's ever been ranked this highly in the country. And I just think it's awesome. And other people have asked me to please share that today, and it's an honor to share it. And I've talked too much, so I'm done. And Commissioner Garen's going to talk about foster care.
I am, because it is National Foster Care Month, so I don't know if we have any folks who want to come up and sit in the front at the microphones, and I'll go ahead and read this proclamation. As I mentioned, it is National Foster Care Month. That is, well, May is National Foster Care Month. That's right, it's May 1st. I keep on forgetting that. Thanks. National Foster Care Month provides an opportunity to to recognize the children and families affected by out-of-home care. It also acknowledges the efforts of resource parents, family members, volunteers, policymakers, child welfare professionals, and community members who advocate for their care and services. And the out-of-home unit at the Carroll County Department of Social Services believes that the entire community benefits from supporting families, ensuring that all children can grow up in healthy, loving homes. This unit is committed to the children and families of Carroll County by implementing evidence-based, trauma-informed practices. In response to the evolving needs of the community, the unit has emphasized prevention, internal partnerships, and community connections. And the out-of-home unit has blended its efforts with the sobriety treatment and recovery team to minimize transitions between units. This collaboration focuses on building relationships among social workers, dedicated peer mentors, and families. It has particularly benefited families impacted by substance abuse, allowing them to maintain their recovery while ensuring that children's safety at home are safe at home. And the out-of-home unit recognizes that children belong with families, especially their family of origin, whenever possible. Many relatives and friends take on the role of kinship caregivers when out-of-home placement is necessary. Kinship care offers numerous advantages, including reduced trauma, improved well-being, better mental health outcomes, and greater stability and permanency for children, all while preserving cultural identity and family connections. And the Board of Carroll County Commissioners expresses its appreciation for the vital work done by the Carroll County Department of Social Services out-of-home unit, which provided services to 43 youth in out-of-home care during the last fiscal year. We celebrate the success of these youth in care and recognize the enduring contributions of resource families in achieving family reunification or adoption. Therefore, we, the Board of Carroll County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of May as National Foster Care Month. And again, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having us. I don't know if you all have any questions about, I think our proclamation and what you just read is pretty meaningful and impactful and speaks really intentionally about the work that we do locally. The work is rewarding, challenging. We have a lot of staff here today that really dedicate their time in this profession to making sure kids are safe and, eliminating risk factors, supporting families, like we said, and making sure that kids have permanent connections with trusting adults, whether that's resource parents, kinship providers. So just to share a little bit of our data for fiscal year 2024, we did serve 43 youth in out-of-home care. I think currently right now we have 30 kids in out-of-home placement. Out of those 43 youth, we did have 25 kids achieved permanency within that fiscal year, which is incredible. We had 12 kids reunify with parents, which is almost 50%. And then 6 case closed to custody and guardianship. So that can mean either to their resource parents or to family members that were caring for them. We had 5 youth that were adopted in fiscal year 2024, and then we had 2 youth that exited care at the age of 21. And then, like you mentioned a little bit, we have really shifted the needs of our work to focus on, what we're seeing in our families and our youth here locally. So really building that START team model, which is, supporting families that have the presenting primary factor of substance abuse in their home. So it's been really incredible to see that program build over the past 5 years. We can now serve families with kids 0 to 18 in that program instead of just 0 to 5. So it opens the net of who we can support, and our peer mentor who's here today, Kelly, can really continue to work with the families even when their kids have to enter out-of-home care, which has been a really good adaptation to that program that our staff has worked really hard to really develop and be kind of innovative. So that's been a cool thing. And then just another kind of heartwarming highlight was that our staff planned in December a holiday event for our families, and it was the first time that we had a family-to-family event, which means that we invited all of our youth in care. We actually had 24 kiddos come, and then we invited their birth parents, their birth families, and their resource parents and kinship families, and almost had like a big extended family celebration where we did cookie decorating, made ornaments. We had actually the community, we put an Amazon wish list out. And so people from the community purchased items that the kids could then shop for to make little present bags for all the people in their life that are important, meaning their families of origin, their resource parents, kinship families, and their siblings. So it was a really awesome event and just, very heartwarming and really sending that message, which I think we do a really good job here locally, that kids can never have too many people in their corner to care about them. We don't need it to be divided, even when kids can't be living with their families safely, temporarily, that we can have people be part of their team, no matter what it kind of looks like. So that was, a great thing planned by our staff, and we look forward to doing that every year. So I don't know if you all have any questions for us, but again, thank you for having us, and thank you for our team for coming today.
Couple quick things. One, what's the age of kiddos?
That came to the event, or just in general?
No, when you said kiddos.
We serve 0 to 21,
Okay.
so really, youth can stay in care up to the age of 21. So we have the whole gamut from newborn all the way up to, right when older adults at 21 exit our system. So
You're up here alone, unafraid, and you have a large group behind you. You're underpaid, understaffed with a lot of the work you do. And the burden you put on yourselves with all this work and the importance. It's almost like, why do you do what you do? That's the hardest thing. It's like we talk about, teachers and things like that, underpaid, overworked, all that. But this is your unsung heroes for placing 43 kids. It's pretty powerful, Like I said earlier about the Veterans Celebration, the best 2 words you can say is thank you, but not just passing by, but having this opportunity to be recognized, and saying thank you to you, but also the folks you work with, because it really does take a village, I would expect, to place every one of these kids. And the continuation with the peer mentor and, the lifelong attachment when these kids are placed. So I've heard this a lot. I've been engaged with it in different places, but from me to you and to you, thank you for what you do. So,
thank you.
Yep.
I'll certainly echo those sentiments, and I cannot even begin to imagine some of the situations these kids have to go through that you have to deal with on a daily basis. And so that, in and of itself, is it's incredible that you are able to handle those sorts of things. And so my question, I guess, would be, you mentioned a little while ago about permanency. What does permanency consist of specifically?
So essentially, making sure that kids have lifelong connections with a trusted adult. So, the research obviously shows the outcome for kids are so much more promising, right, when they can grow up in family settings. So really that's always our focus, is to, number one, try to get kids back with their parents, if we can do that in a safe manner. So permanency can look like going home through reunification, which our data is pretty steady at around 50%, which is phenomenal. If kids are not able to go home safely with parents, then we do that through looking for family resources. And then actually the law recently changed, Maryland law changed at the end of 2024 to even define fictive kin, so family by choice, meaning when we talk to a child or a family, who do you identify as your support system? Who do you consider your family? So that can mean a blood relative or now even family by choice. So
Is it fictive kin?
fictive kin or, family by choice, essentially, so not a blood relative. So we do have situations where kids will achieve permanency, meaning the case will close to adoption or to custody and guardianship to a relative or to a family, somebody that they consider family, a coach, a former teacher, a friend of the family that's been pivotal in their life. So Then obviously we look at adoption. So if family and relatives are not available for a child, then adoption by their resource parent is a way that we achieve permanency. And then, really even targeting our older youth, 18 to 21, really wanting to get away from kids leaving foster care at the age of 21 without a connection to an adult. So even if that doesn't mean that they're in the custody of someone or they're living with an adult, but we all, even as adults, like all of us, need a support network. So making sure that even if they're living independently as self-sufficient young members of this community, who though can support them, as a trusted adult, to give them that, guidance and support and helping hand when needed. So, kind of we adjust to the needs of each specific child and family and really try to make sure that we can make sure that they have the connections that they need.
That is absolutely incredible. And again, I cannot say thank you to all of you enough for what it is you do, and God bless you for it.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, and thank you for all you do. I know in elementary school particularly, we had some neighbors who were foster parents and foster kids, and we thought we were out in the boonies back then because other than a bicycle, you had no means of transportation. And so neighbors were very important, and we really respected the parents that would take on that. And there's so many super situations, but occasionally there can be a bad situation. I was just curious, how do you guys evaluate? You don't set a family and then ignore them, but how do you evaluate? How much support do you give throughout the years with a foster family?
Well, even for our kinship families as well, that's now a streamlined licensing process when the statute changed at the end of 2024. So our kinship families are now considered, they get fully licensed, just like a resource home would. So there's, parameters and a process to that. It's now more accessible to our kinship families so that there's not barriers and they can receive those same services and benefits that our resource parents do. But especially for the resource parents, it's a very comprehensive process. It can take, 4 to 6 months by the time you do training and home studies and a deep dive into evaluations and things like that. But we're involved with our families at least monthly. That's the requirement to be seeing our youth and supporting the family in their home. It's probably more than that realistically by the time, there's joint meetings and court and participation with, community providers and things like that. So our social workers, and then we have a resource home worker that does all of our licensing of our kinship and resource homes, and she's in regular contact with our families. So it's very time consuming. It's a big commitment. It's, and it's the work that we do and the work that we're proud of. So
thank you very much for all you do, and thank you for very tactfully incorporating the appropriate terms. When I look back to what happened in the 60s, I'm probably not using the current terms, but you did nicely, so thank you.
thank you.
I'll just echo some of the comments of my colleagues, but truly do appreciate everything you and everyone is doing for the kids in our community. Obviously, having that support system is such an important foundational piece that they need, and I have to say that event sounded absolutely amazing. I can only imagine how that must have been for everybody involved, both the kids and the adults, so just thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, can we get a photo?
Yes,
I think
please.
we will stay back here, and I'll give you this.
Okay,
and
great.
I welcome everybody to come up.
Y'all can take off your name.
You put your badges in your hand or something, or leave them on the seat, and,
Upside down so people.
yeah. Thank you, folks. Good crowd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now, one of our older commissioners is going to talk about Older Americans Month.
So in support of our young 87-year-old to my right, Commissioner Kyler, I understand his eyes and ears are a little bit limited at this point, but I will do my best in representing him along with others during this special proclamation. If I can, ladies, if you want to come up or whoever. This proclamation has to do with Older Americans Month, AKA Commissioner Kyler, May 2024. May is Older Americans Month, a time to recognize and honor Carroll County's older adults and their immense influence on every facet of American society. And the Carroll County Bureau of Aging and Disabilities, that's run by a bunch of rock stars, has provided service to older adults in Carroll County since 1972, 52 years ago. I think Commissioner Kyler, you were 45, 60? I don't know. Whereas this year's theme, Powered by Connection, focuses on the profound impact and meaningful connections have on the well-being and health of older adults. As they grow older, adults may begin to feel a growing sense of isolation from a larger community around them, and I'll never let that happen, Commissioner Kyler. It's important to remind ourselves of the transformative potential of community engagement in enhancing mental, physical, and emotional well-being. By recognizing and nurturing the role of connectedness plays, we can mitigate issues like loneliness, ultimately promoting healthy aging for more Carroll County residents by spreading the word about the mental, physical, and emotional health benefits of social connection through professional and personal networks, encouraging social media followers to share their thoughts and stories of connection using the hashtag #PoweredByConnection in order to inspire and uplift, and promoting opportunities to engage, such as cultural activities, recreational programs, and interactive virtual events. Through the wealth of life experience and wisdom, bless you, Carroll County's older adults guide our younger generations and carry forward abundant cultural and historical knowledge, and older Americans improve our communities through intergenerational, wow, big word, relationships, community service, civic engagement, and many other activities. And whereas communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds have the opportunity to participate and live independently. And the Carroll County Bureau of Aging and Disabilities, again run by Rockstars, reflects its commitment to inclusivity and connectiveness by ensuring that older county residents have the resources and support needed to stay involved in their communities. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim May as Older American Month. Wow, all without my glasses. Not bad.
I guess
Yeah, I
you're
know
not old.
you had the glasses. Okay.
So you're not old just yet.
Oh, I need them. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think another big push that we have this year is we're going to flip the script, right? Because historically, there are a lot of, there's, society often may portray growing older as a time when people slow down and become frail and simply fade into the woodwork. But because in today's digital age, it's often true that perception becomes reality, it's really important for us to flip that script. And I think that Gina, Rich, and our entire Bureau of Aging team, we do a great job of trying to engage our older adults, see their relevance in our community, all the supports that they have, that they provide back to our community as people age and making sure they're still engaged. There's so much that we rely on, the historical knowledge that people have over the years, the value they bring to our community, and that's where we're trying to make sure we are flipping that script and making this, how can we still bring you back into the fold, and what can you do to continue to feel a part of our community, and through the entire age span until end of life. So we're celebrating our older adults today, and we are fostering intergenerational connections and recognizing the importance of supporting communities and activities in which all ages are respected, included, and entrusted. And I'll turn it over to Gina. She has a few comments as well.
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I mean, we really strive, to respect self-determination, personal choices, and preferences of the older adults that we serve. We recognize their experience, their knowledge, their wisdom, and we strive to provide opportunities for social engagement, volunteerism, and healthy aging. And I'll just end with a quote. It was posted, and hopefully it still is, and if it's not, it should be, at South Carroll Senior Center. There's a quote by Betty Frender, I believe it's pronounced, "Aging is not lost youth, but a new stage of opportunity and strength." And that's how we lead our work every day and what we focus on, and respecting and serving our older adults.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just to add to that, it's not just Commissioner Kyler who brings the experience and the knowledge.
He looked at you
There
when
are
he
a
said
lot
that.
of people, there are senior centers filled with people who bring that every day, and have some incredible, not just stories to share, but ideas that are still relevant and useful in terms of teaching people how to be leaders, teaching people how to just simply work through problems, to communicate with one another. So when we talk about flipping the script, I think we can agree that, like, the way I look at people who are older now is not the way I looked at my grandparents or even my parents when they were my age. They're doing more. They're not coming and sitting on a couch just to watch TV. And sometimes, we don't always agree with some of the things that they want, but they state it clearly. They think through those things, and they bring some very good points to the table. So it's definitely a different time, I think, for people as they're getting older. What was the saying? It used to be 60's the new 50 or 70's the new 60. I think 60's now like the new 40 or something, or 40's the new 70. Whatever it is, that's what I think it is. So, thank you.
And it's awesome what you guys have. Like you say, times are different. You have bingo, which some people, I think, start playing when they're in their teens, and I went to one bingo night. I'm sure I wouldn't fit in your places, and I started talking to the person next to me. I thought they were going to throw me out. I didn't know you weren't allowed to talk. And then you also have exercise and yoga and a lot of activities, and I just think it's awesome.
Another way to define wisdom is education and experience combined. And, those that congregate at the senior centers or elsewhere, if we take that opportunity that God gives us, the 2 ears and 1 mouth, and stay quiet and listen to the wisdom that they have, and pull some of those experiences and education that they have, it's amazing. My mom, as you know, is in assisted living, and I go there 2-3 times a week, and I'll sit back, talk to her, but it's so much fun to talk with her and others, because I don't know them and I'm learning, but their experiences, and another word for experience is scar tissue, and they got a lot of it, and, is just incredible to be able to capture. So to recognize this, through a proclamation or talking about a month, it's a reminder that it's a 24/7, 365 approach, to recognize our elders. And I agree, it's not about the age, anymore. I mean, it's about the continuation of activities and involvement and everything else associated with it. So congratulations on all the things you do. It's incredible how we package and take care of our our elders and our entire community here in Carroll County, so.
I will echo the sentiments of my colleagues up here already. You know, for me, it's a privilege to be able to serve on the Commission on Aging and Disabilities, and it is a pleasure to be able to work with everybody who does something to contribute toward those who are of age. And you know, for me, you know, I have one grandparent who's still alive. My grandmother, she is in her 90s now. She's in upstate New York. And, you know, it's, as Commissioner Rossing was pointing out, you know, the experience, the education, the wisdom that comes from people, right? For me, there's a sense of comfort even, knowing that somebody else has been where you are at some point, that somebody else has gone before, has experienced some things that you have. And it's never a question of being irrelevant. I mean, irrelevance comes from our refusal to recognize as worthwhile or mattering those who are more advanced in age. And it's such a great disservice that we do ourselves because we cut ourselves off from such incredible learning and understanding and experience. And the fact that, you know, it's not a question of somebody who is getting old at this point and getting, you know, shut away in a center somewhere or you know, fading into the woodwork, as you said. These are individuals who are very active, very vital. And it really isn't a question of age. It really is a number, you know. And I don't mean I'm not trying to be amusing or anything. I mean, you know, one of my colleagues up here, right? You know, sometimes it's hard to keep up with Kenny, you know, with all the stuff that he does, everything that he does, everywhere that he goes. And
You're saying he's old.
But I mean, it shows you that it's not a question of age. It's a question of competency. It's a question of vitality. And the fact that we in this county recognize the contributions that people are able to make to this county at any age, whether you are, you know, 8 or 88 or whatever the case might be. You know, every human life has God-given worth and merit, and we recognize that. And, you know, thank you for everything that you guys do, and God bless you for it.
I'll just echo my colleagues' comments. I think the one thing, and you did hit on this, when it comes to older members of the community, when you said they have a lot of knowledge and wisdom, I think the unfortunate thing at times is we forget that, and we lose that when we lose them. So we have various entities. I know the Community Media Center has done some recordings of veterans and other individuals. To me, that's some of the most valuable information, is to try and use modern technology and record that. You know, back in the day, you might have been writing it down, but sadly, when that information and those pieces of history are gone, we lose quite a bit of knowledge and foundational information. But thank you for everything you do. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll just add, I'm glad you decided to focus on the senior centers so much, because I think it's fair to say without them, it would be really hard to have any sort of program where you're reaching people. And I appreciate you mentioning Mount Airy Senior Center. Miss Angie and the staff down there are just incredible. And I think it's a testament to the fact that senior center, much like the library, is extremely busy because of where it's located. So they're getting people, there's really people from 4 counties coming to our location there. But when you talk to some of the folks that are down there in that senior center, and I think it's probably the same with others, they're there from other counties because ours is better. I mean, that's just the facts. They feel welcome. There's a lot of activities going on. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and I hear it every time I walk in. The volunteers as well at the senior centers, of course, are so vital. So I appreciate you mentioning that, because I think it is really obviously it's what's making it work, and it's how you're reaching folks, and you're doing a great job doing it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, a photo?
We want to invite the rest of our crew that's here, that'll be coming up for our next.
And I'd like
Lindsay
to
and
mention, as
Bobby.
we're doing a photo, it's kind of casual day for Commissioner Vigliotti, but he still has a tie. Not a suit,
Are we
but
coming down, or are
it's
we
nice
staying
to
out?
see you casual.
I figured, you know, casual Thursday.
Okay, okay. I don't know, how many, they have enough, we probably ought to stay up here, you think?
Rich, good to see you.
Less,
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Yep.
Can you see Ed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, one thing before that, and then, yep. Okay,
Gene, huh?
I do it every
What's up
I
with
would,
that?
I would also like to quickly honor a retiree, Rebecca Haynes.
Oh, that's right.
But
You can
you
stay.
can stay there if you want. We're gonna do two more things before we go to the next agenda item, and, sorry, but, you know, this is important stuff. Certificate of recognition, this certificate is awarded to Rebecca Haynes in recognition of over 48 years of dedicated service with Carroll County government. We celebrate your remarkable career in public service. You began your journey with Carroll County on September 14th, 1976, as a trainee in the collections office and are retiring as the longest-serving employee in the county. Throughout the years, you were promoted to positions with increasing responsibilities, including clerk typist 2, accounting clerk, retiring on May 7th, 2025 as an accounting technician 2 in accounts payable, Department of the Comptroller. You have witnessed extraordinary changes in Carroll County and the workplace, and you have truly embodied the mission of Carroll County government by ensuring accurate accounting of taxpayers' money. We sincerely thank you for your hard work and dedication and wish you a long and healthy retirement, and signed by the 5 commissioners.
48 years.
That is awesome.
You weren't
And,
important, were you?
Yep,
What,
congratulations, thank you for your
No, is that
congratulations.
Yes.
And now, just to break away from some of us with, what do you say, scar tissue?
A little bit of scar
We
tissue.
have a student, I think, that wants to do some public comment, and so we'd like to go ahead and do it now. So if you can come up to the mic, start with your name, and then,
We want to fix the mic? Hey, Chris, fix the mic maybe?
there,
Somebody?
from behind, you're getting
That's
some
right.
help.
Sorry. If you want to, no, you're fine. If you want to come up here.
Come on up there.
Yeah, please, feel free. No, come on up.
Yeah, you can come up if you want behind also,
Yeah.
wherever you want.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. My name is Lucia De Jesus. I'm from Talbot County, and I'm a student at St. Pierre and Paul High School. I'm here because of a school project where I have to learn about another county other than my own. And I wanted to extend my personal greetings from the Eastern Shore. I wanted to present you with these commemorative pins as a token of goodwill. I also wanted to extend my appreciation for your ongoing dedication to serving your local communities. Like you all, our county has 5 council members who have a shared commitment to hold the public good, promote economic growth, assure environmental sustainability, and provide public safety. May your collaborative efforts continue to flourish, bringing prosperity and well-being to all of your residents. And with your permission, I would like to give you these pins from Talbot County.
Sounds good.
And,
Thank you.
You want to get a
can we do a group photo? We'll come down to you, and then, if you don't mind doing a group photo with us, we'll do a group photo.
Beautifully said,
Might
Lucia.
need, we might need Celine and everybody to kind of get away for that.
Yeah, yeah. Your heads might be in the.
Get them to look at you first. You get them to look at you first.
Yeah.
I'll just do a photo and then I'll get out of the way.
And you can be in it if you
Oh,
like.
okay. No, it's her project, so I got. Oh, okay. Now, let me do this first. Okay. And then I'll go in there. 1, 2, 3. Thanks, gentlemen. Okay, I'll sneak in. Sure.
Oh, there's no just dad. Dads are
You want one on
important
your
people.
phone too? You want one on your phone too?
Oh, yeah, please. Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Let me
grab one with this, please.
All right, thank you.
She's very proud. She's lovely. Thank you very much.
That was good initiative.
1980s of him, too.
That was good initiative.
Can we do any more fun stuff, or we gotta get to work?
No.
guess we-
Are you saying Celine?
Gotta get to work.
Saying Celine's not fun?
I know, I don't know how we're supposed to follow that.
Approval to submit applications and accept a award of an area plan and individual grant for Bureau of Aging and Disabilities.
Okay, so, good morning again. I wanted to introduce our team to you that's here with us today. Obviously, you know I'm Celine Steckel, the Director of Citizen Services. We have Gina Valentine to my left. She's our Bureau Chief of Aging and Disabilities. Bobby Lawrence, who's our Aging and Disability Services Supervisor. Rich Otone, our Community Services Supervisor, and also Lindsay Davis, who's our Fiscal Manager with Aging. So we are joined with you today. We want to go through and share with you our area plan and the grant application that we would like your approval to submit, and then accept the awards associated with that. We wanted to come before you to present this comprehensive overview of all of the different grants and funds that provide for our programming lines within the Bureau of Aging and Disabilities. I know we highlighted during Older Americans Month and the proclamation, the senior centers specifically, but there are so many more things that the Bureau of Aging does, including the senior center programming in combination with the funding that we get through the Older Americans Act and state funding, and also local and private funds. So as we are moving forward today, Gina has prepared a great comprehensive presentation for you, and we're going to start that now. And I'm going to turn over to Gina to walk us through.
Okay, thank you so much, Celine. So, of course, you're very familiar with what our mission is, but we're going to review the formula, grants, and our funding overview so that you have a clear picture of the funding that we receive from federal and state sources and the local dollars that are contributed as well. So we're going to start off with our senior and community centers and meals and nutrition. So the Title C3-1 and 3C2 for home-delivered meals, you can see those allocations there. Of course, you know, the funding for congregate meals is for meals within the senior centers, and the home-delivered meals for individuals who no longer have to be homebound in order to receive the home-delivered meals. We also use that funding for grab-and-go or takeaway meals to enhance our congregate meal program. State nutrition, you can see the dollars there, and then nutritional services as well. And there's estimated county funding as a match is zero for all of those program lines. Also, just to provide some highlights for each of the sections that we'll talk about. We had, I guess over a year ago, we amended our congregate meal policies that would enable people to take their leftover food home with them to continue to support their food security. And people were always concerned because there was a policy that people could not take their leftover meals with them in the past. And so people were concerned about the waste. And so we did change that policy quite a while ago. There are over 50,000 meals distributed between those two program lines of home-delivered and congregate meals. We have over 1,600 senior center members that are served. I already talked about the grab-and-go meals, and that individuals do not have to be homebound in order to receive the home-delivered meals. The focus now is really people that, that are socially and economically struggling as well. One of the challenges that we've been experiencing is increased meal prices, and that relates to both congregate and home-delivered meals. In 2022, our congregate meals were $4.83 each, and now in 2025, they're $6.31 each. That's an increase of $1.48 per meal, and that might not seem a lot, But with the number of meals that we serve each fiscal year, which is over 33,000 meals, that's an increase of $49,000. And so that really is a huge increase across the board, which concerns us going down the line as meal prices will continue to increase. We
Is
anticipate that.
over 1 year?
Over 1 year. No, so when you say over 1 year, that cost would be?
The increase.
Well, the increase of $1.48 is from fiscal '22 to fiscal year '25.
Okay,
But
so
I guess
3
what I'm
years.
saying is that our meals will cost serving 33,000 people $49,000 more a year now than what it
Yeah.
did in '22.
Just seems pretty extreme. I mean, very steep percentage-wise.
It is. It is. It's a huge increase. Home-delivered meals were $6.91 each back in '22, and now they're $7.93, which is an increase of $1.02 over those fiscal years. We were, for a period of time, providing breakfast and lunches for individuals at the senior centers, but with home-delivered meals, but we've had to cut out the breakfast so that we ensure that we have enough funding to support the number of people that need home-delivered meals. If we do deplete our funding for home-delivered meals, Meals on Wheels does have fundraising that they've done to be able to support additional people. Then moving on to community services and programming. Community services, our Title IIIB funding is utilized for aging services. And what that means is that we utilize that funding to support staffing and training and marketing initiatives. There is a match there of the county dollars that you can see for $39,800. Health promotion, that is our chronic disease self-management programs and our evidence-based exercise programs. And the annual allocation for that is $9,743. And these are all estimated allocations that we've been provided by Maryland Department of Aging. There's no match required for that line of funding. The Senior Center Operating Fund, or SCOF grant, is utilized to enhance the services within the senior center. There are times that we will utilize the services of a nutritionist to work with people to improve their nutrition. And so there's some flexibility there on how we can utilize that funding to enhance either nutrition or other services within the senior center. The senior centers and then admin for additional staffing, you can see the total there. That is county dollars. And then annually, we typically receive a generous donation from Coons Tow-Rite of $5,000, which enables us to support and pay for exercise programs within the centers.
And you just said it, but Carroll County, we are so blessed with different businesses that consistently support us, and Coons Toyota is one of them. It's awesome.
And just some highlights for our senior and community centers with the services and programming there. There are health screenings that are offered within the senior centers. There are evidence-based programs that I mentioned. We do offer some virtual and in person. There's over 2,000 class sessions that are offered within the senior centers. The art classes, exercise, nutrition, pickleball is big. Bingo was mentioned earlier, so the list goes on and on. We have drive-through flu shot clinics. Those became very popular during COVID. We had to do them that way at the time, and many of the people coming in for those shots have really preferred to continue to do the drive-through flu shots. And that's in partnership with a local pharmacy. Our site councils do have fundraising that they do in order to support additional needs within the senior centers. Excuse me, the site councils are a huge support to the senior centers. So advocacy, support, and protection. You can see all the different program lines there. The long-term care ombudsman program, and the funding there for that, there is estimated county funding of $47,970. I have to mention there are several different funding lines that support our ombudsman program, though, from other federal and state resources, as you can see there. State ombudsman, those are state grant dollars. 3B ombudsman or federal dollars. And then going on to state guardianship, we receive an allocation of $25,538 for state funding, and then with the county dollars included on that program as well. Elder abuse, typically we utilize that funding for elder abuse initiatives and marketing to educate the general public about elder abuse. The Family Caregiver Support Program supports older adults or caregivers who are caring for older adults, and then older adults or older relatives who are raising grandchildren as well. That is a vulnerable elderly program initiative. I always have to remember what that one is. And that one supports our state health insurance assistance program in the amount of $10,343. To give you some highlights from those programs, the National Family Caregiver Support Program, they serve approximately 950 caregivers and older relatives caring or grandparents caring for grandchildren annually. There are monthly support groups, which are really invaluable to both of those populations. And then we hold annually caregiver and grandparent conferences. And then funding for that program, there's some funding that can support the older adults and caring for younger individuals and for the caregivers as well. Our long-term care ombudsman program, it's an invaluable program that protects the rights of residents living in nursing homes and assisted living facilities to make sure that their rights are upheld and that they understand their rights and know that they can question the care that they're receiving and advocate for themselves as well.
Gina, that's also the group that hands out the information specifically to people who are in
Yes.
these homes, the little
They-
packets in the...
They do. They provide information to them physically about residents' rights. They provide them with information about elder abuse.
Who to
and-
contact and...
Yes, yes, and for individuals that are not decisional, they support family members then in the advocacy. So it's such an important role, such an important program. World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is, we'll be recognizing that on June 10th this year. This year we've decided to focus on educating professionals who care for older adults or work with older adults so that they understand what elder abuse is, the signs of it, who to report to if it's suspected. The Public Guardianship Program, our agency is appointed as the guardian for older adults 65 years of age and older who are no longer able to make decisions for themselves. We focus on making medical decisions for those individuals, placement decisions, and end-of-life decisions for them. On average, we have between 20 and 25 clients in that program, and I already mentioned about the roles and responsibilities of that program. So moving on to case management and referrals and support. Our senior care program provides services to people to help keep them in their homes in the community. And we have one staff person who's the coordinator for that program. The estimated funding for that program is $250,000. I would like to take a moment to thank you, commissioners, for your advocacy for this current year to help keep the funding intact for the senior care program. There was a threat of, I think, $2.4 million being cut from that program for this current fiscal year. We've never experienced something like that before. We were trying to figure out how we were going to continue to serve our clients. We were looking at possibly a $51,000 funding cut, which was really hard to work through this close to the end of the state fiscal year, as this is a state-funded program. So thank you so much for your advocacy to make sure that that funding was not cut, because the funding was not cut whatsoever, which was great news to us. And so we can continue to serve our clients, make sure that their services are not cut or ended or reduced in any way whatsoever. Senior Assisted Living Subsidy Program, that program provides a subsidy to people to help them pay for an assisted living facility. The case management and support services are home and community-based services staff that provide services to people to help them remain in the community. It's a Medicaid-funded program and a billing fee-for-service program. The program generates its own revenue of about $304,000 per year, and there are county dollars that are placed on that project. Federal financial participation is another fee-for-service project that we have that helps to support positions within the Bureau of Aging and Disabilities, and we generate approximately $120,000 per year for that program. Dementia Navigation, that's a newer arm to the services that we provide, which just started this year. For this current fiscal year, the funding was cut in half from $2.4 million statewide to $1.2 million. And there was a proposal for that funding to remain cut in half moving forward, but that the legislature also rejected that funding cut. So while this year we received approximately $31,000 for the program, we'll receive over $57,000 in fiscal year '26. MAP information and assistance, that is the first point of contact for people that when they come to our agency looking for information about long-term services and supports. We receive $126,145, and then the county dollars, a little over $52,000 that's placed on that project. Level 1 screen is $15,000. That is an assessment that we do with individuals to place them on a state wait list for the Community Options Waiver program to provide them services to keep them in their homes. So as I mentioned, MAP information is a single point of entry for long-term services and support. Our staff provide options counseling. They continue to see very complicated situations that come before them that they're trying to help people work through to help keep them in the community or determining what other options might be appropriate for them. Dementia Navigation. The Collard Foundation, that's one area of private funding that we've received from them that enables us to have an older adult emergency fund. That funding has been so important to us and so helpful to support older adults that are in emergency financial situations. We have people that are experiencing increases in their utility bills that they cannot afford, and also the increase in food costs as well. And so it has been an absolute asset to us to be able to help individuals in those difficult situations.
Another wonderful group that does amazing work in the county.
Do you,
Absolutely do. They have been huge supporters of our services.
is there a line item for the, what you just mentioned from the Keller Foundation? I don't see it.
I don't have it there for the Older Adult Emergency Fund. I have it
Right.
later in the presentation under veterans.
Yeah, I know the
It's a combined application that we do at the same time. And so we typically receive about $100,000.
Right.
And a portion of that goes to veterans and the other portion goes to the Older Adult Emergency Fund. And this is what, the second year for the Older Adult Emergency Fund, I believe? The third year.
Oh, so they just started that a few years ago?
Yes,
Got
they
it.
just started that a few years ago.
Okay.
Then Medicare education and enrollment. There are, again, these are the program lines that support our state health insurance assistance program. MIPA is one, Senior Medicare Patrol, and then SHIP. And all of them relate to Medicare, educating people who are aging into Medicare about Medicare and selecting their program lines that they want to be in. And Senior Medicare Patrol is the fraud arm of the program, where they will help people file a complaint if they feel like that they've been billed inappropriately. And those program lines are all federal funding. There's county funding put on those projects for a total of $58,500. The SHIP program is a wonderful program. It helps so many people in our county. They serve approximately 2,800 people annually. While the program had been maintaining 8 volunteers, we actually have 12 volunteers in the program and 2 more who are currently in training. Those volunteers are a huge asset to the program. It enables us to serve so many more people than what we would with just one staff person. They provide Medicare 1 and 2 sessions to educate people about enrolling in Medicare. There's virtual programming that's offered in partnership with the Carroll County Public Library. We offer annual shredding events and medication take back. The shredding events is to combat identity theft. And then the Maryland State retirees, that's another population. That's an additional 1,800 people in Carroll County who typically are seeking assistance with their Medicare questions and their Medicare Part D open enrollment.
Is the medication take back still done at DPW? Or Isn't that where we were doing it?
This one is done at the senior center.
Oh, this one's done at the senior center?
Yeah, it's done at all 5 senior and community centers. They're usually done in the month of May. We actually have the schedule all arranged, and that'll be coming out soon with all the information on those dates and each of the senior centers. But DPW does do one
Yeah.
with their shredding events.
Right, okay, so this definitely,
separate. Yep.
let us know, or me at least, when that is in
Yep,
May.
absolutely. We
I
will
have
certainly send that to
plenty
you.
to-
And those are hugely successful events. In fiscal year '24, there were over 111 pounds of medications that people brought in to properly dispose of them. And there was, I think, like 100 and some thousand pounds of documents that were brought in and shredded. There are certain items that people can't bring in to be shredded, but there's no limit really on how much they can bring. So moving on to our Veteran Services Program, the county dollars estimated that supports the staffing is $110,000, and then the grants from the Collard Foundation, again, split between the Emergency Older Adult Fund and Veterans, is $100,000. Some of the highlights for the Veteran Services Program, again, approximately 800 people served annually. Over 80 million in pension and compensation claims have been recouped for veterans of this county. Continued support from the Collard Foundation. We do outreach at resource fairs and, of course, the Veteran Celebration, which is happening on Sunday. We have worked with Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs and Military Families to do a Veterans Benefits and Claims Clinic and Resource Fair multiple times now. There's been the expansion of the covered presumptives. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Veteran Shuttle Transportation Program that takes veterans to 4 VA medical centers. And then we also handle the registrations for that. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little dry.
Just take a breath for a second, because I can't not highlight the return on investment is amazing. It just sometimes doesn't sink in. $80 million return on investment to putting 100,000 every year. I mean, it can't be done without the volunteers. It can't be done without the Veterans Council and the engagements, but that's just, I don't know of any other return on investment in this county or anywhere that's a number like that, so.
And our staff do a great job, and they work through some really challenging situations. They have to know a lot of the details. They have to really dig down in. And there's just been some really absolutely amazing situations that they've helped in that have been very successful to benefit the veterans of this
For
county.
every veteran served, there's probably 5 more out there that still need to be identified. We have like 10,000 plus, as we know, and I was at the Lions Club event last night and identified 2 or 3 that pushed your way, so, yeah.
That's fantastic. And we continue to try to reach them and do our very best to support them. Then the Senior Inclusion Program, that's a billing fee for service program, supports our older adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And that program generates approximately $800,000 in revenue each year. Some highlights for the SIP program. We have typically 25 participants enrolled. They do community outings. They're out in the community a lot. They're in other senior centers. They take trips as well. And it's such a great program that supports our older adults. And then the new billing system continues to go well, and staff are being successful with that. So I'm just about finished, but one thing that we wanted to share with you today is that there is some funding that may be vulnerable, some of our federal funding.
I was going to ask about this, right?
Yes. So there was a budget that was leaked, and that's the word that keeps being used, that where several program lines have been zeroed out. And so while this is not an official budget, it's still something we wanted to bring to your attention to make sure that you're aware of. And the programs that have been mentioned at this point where their budgets have been zeroed out in that leaked budget. So Title VII Ombudsman Program, that allocation for us is typically about $13,000 a year. than the state health insurance assistance programs. So it may include also not only SHIP, but MIPA and SMP, and then also Title III-D health promotion. And so it's approximately a total of $60,000 in funding that we could lose, and possibly in fiscal year 2026. There's a lot of advocacy that is going on right now from U.S. Aging, from other organizations that advocate and support older adults, to advocate against these funding cuts. There are some really essential program lines that are offered. The Ombudsman Program is one of them. SHIP is another one. Our health promotion to help keep people, aging healthy in our communities. So we don't know what that's going to look like. Hopefully, the advocacy, again, will work and help to support not reducing these program lines. But it's a wait and see. It's the unknown at this point, but we're just going to continue to watch it. We're participating in meetings. There was a meeting earlier this week with U.S. Aging where they provided, updates and information about what they know at this point and what they're doing to advocate. Maryland Association for Area Agencies on Aging is planning to submit a letter, in support of keeping this funding intact as well. So then the final slide just shows you the estimated grant funding of over $2.8 million, and then the estimated county funding of a little over $1.7 million.
So for every dollar of taxpayer money, you're getting about $1.60 in private, state, or federal. That's awesome. And you have the congressman's local contact person, and he said yesterday, if we feel grants are at risk, let him know, he'll check. If we feel we're getting money more slowly than we should, he will check. So we need to take him up on that.
Yeah, I agree. The Congressman Olszewski was very, not just supportive, but just active in his comments, saying, don't let us, we're a tool in the toolbox. Let him know. And he's committed to supporting our county, and these are the issues he wants to know about. So, especially obviously when it comes to federal funding. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the submission of the FY26 area plan and individual grant applications for the Bureau of Aging and Disabilities and accept the FY26 awards.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Department of Planning and Land Management, change to Ordinance Renewable Energy Certainty Act.
She left. Go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah, she left her things.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah.
I thought they were gifts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning
Morning,
to you
Commissioners.
both. Morning.
So joined here by Brenda Denny, a Special Projects Coordinator and our solar expert, so she can answer all of the tough questions. But yes, we're here again to talk more solar. In this case, you may recall when we were here before talking solar back in the fall, when we established some site design requirements that we put into code for solar development. I believe I mentioned at the time that we knew that there were things happening at the state level that some of what we passed we may have to revisit, and so that's why we're here today, because there was a bill called the State Renewable Energy Certainty Act that was passed. I don't know if the governor has signed it just yet, but we feel it's imminent. So wanted to discuss what's in that act, what kind of changes we're anticipating needing to perform on our own codes so that we're in line with state law, and get your permission to start having those conversations with the Planning and Zoning Commission on revising the text or performing a text amendment to our codes. So going to briefly go through what's in the act and certainly answer any questions that you have. So we're here talking specifically about Senate Bill 931, House Bill 1036. The bill is effective as of July 1st of this year. It does not apply to any projects in process prior to that date. So as you know, there are 8 projects currently going through the CPCN process here in Carroll County. This would not affect those. So what we're seeing when we're looking at what the judge's decisions are on those projects is that if there are any requirements that the solar companies or the PSC feel are kind of onerous and difficult for them to address, then the judge is specifically addressing them in their decision. What they're looking to establish now are some more set guidelines from a state level so that there'll be less uncertainty for any projects that are submitted after July 1. So this is a pretty significant bill. It's over 38 pages and covered a variety of topics. The first 2 is what we feel have an impact on our local codes. And these are the solar energy generating systems, which are solar facilities, and then we'll also be talking about energy storage devices. The other 3 topics that are covered in the bill, we really don't feel have much of an impact, if any, on what our county codes. There's some modifications to the definition of agrivoltaics, some information about requirements of warranties for rooftop solar, and also requires that the state is going to be looking at suitable land for potential solar development. So those last 3, we're not going to touch any further because they really don't affect us. But we will be talking about the first 2. So first of all, local zoning. So what the new law says is that any project between 1 megawatt and 5 megawatts must be considered a principal permitted use in all zoning districts. So essentially, our preclusion of certain zoning districts, specifically ag has been the topic. We are not going to be able to prohibit that as a use in those districts for projects that are between 1 and 5 megawatts. General rule of thumb that we use, 1 megawatt requires somewhere between 5 to 8 acres when you put all the amenities and the solar and so on. So that's the size of project we're talking about. 1 megawatt could be as small as 5 acres, 8 acres, thereabouts. A 5 megawatt project is probably 30 to 40 acres when it's all said and done. So pretty good sized project. One of the things that we'll have to have discussions about, and certainly we'll get Planning and Zoning Commission's opinion on it and bring it back for your consideration, the state does leave open what we want to do for projects that are less than 1 megawatt. So we certainly could preclude those in certain areas. Is the juice worth the squeeze, as it were, for it to do that? I don't know how many solar development companies would be interested in only doing a 1 megawatt or less size project. So is it really, is there a danger of a lot of those types of projects, as it were? So for projects greater than 5 megawatts, there are a number of restrictions that they have put in the state law, and we'll talk through each of these individually. So the first one is growth tiers 1 or 2. They can be prohibited. We will be back sometime in the future to talk with you all about growth tiers from a residential development perspective. Growth tiers were established in 2012 by the state, Senate Bill 236 in 2012. They're related to residential development. The county did not adopt growth tiers. And so, again, we'll be back in front of you to talk about from a residential perspective whether there's any benefit to now adopting tiers or not. If we are interested in adopting them, they have to be done as part of a master plan process, which, as you know, we're in the middle of. So certainly we could adopt them if that's your desire. Just to explain them a very high level, Tier 1 this is a classification system. So Tier 1 is any area that is currently served by public sewer. Tier 2 is any area where it's anticipated that it will be there will be public sewer. So we're primarily talking about the Freedom District here with what would the county would designate as Tier 1 and Tier 2. So Tier 3 is larger subdivisions, specifically around rural villages and so on septic. And then Tier 4 is preservation and conservation areas where there are no major subdivisions. So again, we'll be back before you to talk about these from a residential perspective. It would be very, very cumbersome to try and implement a master plan change specific to tiers just for solar while we're in the middle of a master plan process. And I don't think that it's, that would be worth the effort. I have some ideas on how we can accomplish the same thing without actually having to adopt tiers specifically for solar. So certainly on the table from a residential development perspective, but I don't think it'll be necessary for solar. And we can certainly talk about that more when we get into the tiers. From a priority preservation perspective, what the new state law says is that areas that counties have designated as priority preservation, if you hit a threshold of 5% of your area is encumbered by solar, then you can prohibit 5 megawatt projects. So the map shows the area that we have designated as our priority preservation area. It's just shy of 93,000 acres, and so 5% of that would be 4,645 acres. So we're talking about a significant amount of solar that before we would hit that threshold. It's certainly something that we would monitor, and if we ever get to that level, something that we may bring up, but that would be a significant amount of solar to get to that point, and I don't believe that we would need to codify anything in county code related to this. But just for your reference, this is one of the provisions that the state law has added.
So Chris, the 5 megawatt projects that would be, I guess, voided after reaching that threshold, is it 5 and under, or is it specifically 5 megawatt?
5 megawatt and larger, yes.
So I could theoretically come in with a 4 megawatt and still, okay.
Yes. And then we get into, there are some provisions for residential zoning where we could prohibit 5 megawatt projects. Medium density is 1 dwelling per 5 acres. That's basically our conservation district, so we can prohibit them in our conservation zone. High density is 1 dwelling per acre or denser, so all of our residential zoning districts, and we're interpreting that to also mean our C1, C2, and C3 because of the residential site plans that can be allowed there. So this would essentially limit 5 megawatts or larger facilities to industrial and agricultural district. So that's the direction that we would be leaning to present to the Planning Commission for consideration, along with looking at some of the other provisions and how we could potentially restrict. So from a...
I apologize.
Yes.
We don't have many sizable I-1, I-2, like in acreage. I mean, 40 acres. Do we? I mean, I don't think so. In the county?
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, certainly when you start thinking in terms of like Heidelberg and so on, there are. But that's part of what we would look at is what kind of impact would this have? Is there much property that could even be considered?
Yeah, I just don't think there's much property and also open property within those districts. I mean, yes, Heidelberg, but I mean, it's pretty occupied.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's going on. So, yeah, I'm just thinking about size of these properties. We just don't have a lot left.
Right.
And we gotta use I-1 and I-2 for industrial, opportunities, because we just don't have a lot left.
Yes. Okay. So from a local zoning regulation, like site requirements perspective, they did speak to a number of items, specifically setbacks. So as you may remember, we set the setback for our projects at 400 feet with the potential for Planning and Zoning Commission to reduce that down to 100. They are basically setting that at 100 feet. So that's something that we'll have to revise our code to. They also speak to fencing, buffer screening, and so on. Trees don't have to be any higher than 4 feet, which, is
Yeah,
crazy.
That's a total joke. That's a shrub.
Yep,
Back to the 150 and 100.
yes.
We have one or more of the 8 projects violates that.
Yes.
Can we send a letter to PSC that we would hope they would at least not waive anything beyond this?
We certainly could.
Yeah, I mean, that's their new state law, but these it's nice that these projects are exempt because maybe we can do more, but I don't want them to be allowed to do less.
Yes, it is certainly a concern. Yes.
Okay. And 4 foot's a joke.
So there are a couple others that are not too innocuous. Things related to topsoil, average heights, and they do address some decommissioning. So we'll go through very carefully with what our code says versus what the state says. If the state does not address it, we'll certainly just leave it, our code in as is. But then we'll be making minor adjustments to anything that the state has now preempted. Something that's interesting is that in the state law, they have designated a new category, as it were, of solar. They're calling these are community solar projects between 2 and 5 megawatts. So all 8 of the projects that are going through the CPCN process right now in Carroll County would fall in this category. And what I'm envisioning they're attempting to do is to streamline the process for those types of projects. So they're going to come up with a special CPCN. They're calling it a DG CPCN, or a Distributed Generation Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity. And the DNR, through the Power Plant Research Program, is going to develop conditions and site design requirements by July 1st of 2026, and then those will be adopted by 2027. So what I'm anticipating is they're going to come up with special rules and requirements to streamline these types of projects that we'll be back here in 2 years, probably tweaking our codes once again to address this special classification. But this is covered in the laws, or the bill as well. So that's solar. The other item that really wanted to talk about, and now they're different terms. In the bill, they call this front-of-the-meter energy storage devices. So if you think, the way I think about it is behind the meter would be after it's been, it comes to a business and so on, that it's been metered. This is before the meter. So the purpose here is to capture energy during times of high production, and then during times of high usage, putting that energy back into the grid through the use of batteries. And you can see a picture here. One type of this is called a battery energy storage system, or BESS. And the picture here shows an example of what those look like. Essentially, they're shipping containers. They look like shipping containers, and they're filled with batteries. And they're hooked into the grid, and they just take up the excess energy and then redistribute when necessary. We in Carroll County have not been approached by anybody looking to build one of these, but I have heard through the grapevine that there are other counties here in the state that have been approached. I know Montgomery County is currently actively working on code related to it. I've heard that Harford County has been approached by someone, so they are out there and potentially coming. If someone were to come to Carroll County to propose one, we don't have this as a use in our code. And so we would be trying to figure out the best use or bucket to put this type of project into. The best we could come up with would be like a utility equipment building, which is allowed by conditional use in all of our zoning districts, or just a general warehouse, which is primarily in industrial districts. Neither one of those is a good fit. And the big concern about these types of facilities is fire. There's they call it thermal runaway, and I don't know if you remember in the news, there was a pretty spectacular fire in California at one of these facilities back at the beginning of the year. So MACO is currently investigating and coming up with recommendations on how this concern should be addressed. But in the meantime, this bill has been passed and has established some general rules that we will need to be following starting July 1.
It looks like
yes.
it's a big ups. It's a big ups type of capability. I mean, I had a couple of those very large connexes in Iraq, and because you don't want a disturbance in the power flow. We never had an issue with it. I never, thought of fire as being a concern. So that's interesting that, that's brought up because, we used it for years and we're talking, size of the room type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of them may be the size of the room, but the type of sites that I've been seeing
Yeah.
are acres and acres
Yeah,
of
okay.
these lined up in rows, like,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So this current bill has basically indicated that we cannot prohibit them in any zoning district. And they've put in some very basic site requirements related to fencing and buffers and so on. What they have not, what the bill does not speak to are things like setbacks. And so that's where I think it would be beneficial for us to create this new use and to have discussions about what kind of setbacks, what kind of access requirements for emergency services and so on we specifically want to address with this type of use, should someone want to propose one here in the county.
I apologize if you covered this. No topsoil removal means removal from the site. They're still going to
Yes.
strip topsoil. And I don't understand, one of the solar companies said trees don't grow well in berms. I don't know why they don't strip the topsoil, make it into a berm. That's close and easy, and
Sure.
plant the trees in them, and they do quite well. But yeah, it doesn't mean they're not stripping. It means don't
Right.
remove it from the site,
Yes,
which is good.
yes. So that's pretty much all I had to cover. Basically, we're here today to just ask permission to take these topics to the Planning and Zoning Commission to figure out what kind of code amendments we need to make sure that we're in compliance with the new state law. And the three specific items that we would want to talk about, one are the allowable zoning districts for solar, the site requirements for solar, and then work on this new use, the energy storage devices. If we can take this to Planning Commission, we'll work over the next couple months with them to get some language to bring back and propose to you all. And then we would go through the normal process of discussions with you, public hearing, and potential adoption, and so on.
Chris, is there anything else on the horizon that we are aware of, not even necessarily related to solar generation or energy generation, different kinds of facilities or uses of land or whatever the case might be, that are on the way that we haven't taken into account yet with our own code? Because in talking about like the battery storage systems, we obviously nobody would have thought about that 40 years ago. What other trends are emerging that we should be aware of? I mean, you don't have to have an answer for me today, but maybe to be on the lookout in the coming months.
Yeah. So we've had some discussions relating to composting, and we have some interest from folks here in the county of setting up composting operations. And so looking into what our code allows and doesn't allow, and then if that doesn't conform exactly with what they want to do, then potentially having a discussion with you all about what changes might be needed. Digesters, methane digesters is another topic that we've had some interest from citizens. Those are the two that come to mind. But certainly, if I think of any others, I can share those.
Oh,
Yes.
perfect. And I know one of the ones that I brought up in the past are those, I don't know how our code works for them or not. I think the company's called Boxable. There's those houses that basically collapse inward, or they can be, they're constructed on site from prefabricated pieces that are packed together, and you basically expand this box into a house.
Okay.
And so those are gaining a lot of popularity, not just among the tiny house movement, but as a way of achieving affordable housing. And so I wasn't sure, whether or not that was something that we might at least want to be aware of. This is another trend that's
Yeah.
starting to percolate.
Yeah, so I don't know that a specific use would be needed for that. Essentially, we've got building codes for houses, and as long as they adhere to those building codes, then they would be allowable. You may remember we had code last year that from the state related to manufactured housing, and so there were some adjustments to that. And it sounds like what you're describing may fit that niche.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
It seems like maybe all, but most of the solar projects we've seen so far, they're going to MDE prior to even being approved, and that probably exempts us from reviewing that part. And A, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And B, is that addressed in this law? Is that a future thing that we're not going to look at stormwater management, et cetera?
So there are a variety of environmental concerns that every solar project goes through and develops a environmental, it's ERD, environmental
Review document.
Review document, thank you. And that gets submitted to the power plant research, the PPRP. So the PPRP, which is a part of the Department of Natural Resources, they're looking at every environmental aspect, impact of that project and making sure that it conforms with certainly state and federal requirements. Items like stormwater management, forest conservation, and so on, which are typically addressed by through county codes that reflect state laws, they're looking at it, but they still require the project to go through a local site plan process where we make sure that they're addressing all of those requirements in the fine details of the final site plan, because the plans that they propose they're close to final, but there may be nuances and things that still need to be addressed to make them constructible. And so that's the process that comes through the county, and we ensure that they meet all of those requirements.
Now, PSC can waive any of that they choose, but if they don't, it has to go through that process. Good.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to refer proposed changes related to solar energy generation and energy storage to the Planning and Zoning Commission for discussion and recommendation of changes to Chapter 158 of the County Code.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is the public hearing required by law? And I think we ought to do it either way, but it's required. And
Yes.
the advertisement, the whole bit.
Yes, for our code changes, yes.
Now we want to talk about mowing and tree shelter maintenance services.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Resource Management, requests your approval to award a contract with Quality Outdoor Maintenance to provide mowing and tree shelter maintenance services in the amount not to exceed $71,200. This is a one-year contract with a second-year renewal option available pending fiscal availability and satisfactory performance. The first-year total is $35,600. This year's amount is approved in the FY25 budget.
Good morning. This is part of our NPDS program and will provide mowing and maintenance for approximately 53 acres of tree plantings.
Motion to award a contract to Quality Outdoor Maintenance to provide mowing and tree shelter maintenance services in the amount not to exceed $71,200.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Now, traffic signs and barricades.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Engineering, requests your approval to purchase traffic signs and barricades from Sunrise Safety Services Incorporated in the amount of $29,369. This amount is approved in the FY25 adopted budget.
Good morning. Due to the emergency closure of the Upper Beckleysville Road structure, we needed to provide semi-permanent sign detour prior to the contract award for the structure replacement. When we were notified by the inspecting engineer, the Bureau of Roads Operations placed temporary signs to warn motorists that the road was closed. Since the replacement project was fully designed, we were able to afford the approved detour plan to a contractor for a price and get them started on the sign installation process. The contractor expects to have all the signs installed by the end of the day today. We since have worked with State Highway and Federal Highway to move the approval process along at a quicker pace than it had been, and we advertised the structure replacement at risk on April 16th.
Did this price include removal?
Yes.
Motion to approve the purchase of traffic signs and barricades from Sunrise Safety Services Incorporated in the amount of $29,369.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, one Kohler diesel generator.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning to you both.
Morning. The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Bureau of Facilities, requests your approval to award the purchase and installation of one 37-kilowatt Kohler diesel generator and transfer switch. This is a turnkey project for Fidelity Power Systems in the amount of $89,965.61. This unit will be installed at the Harvey Gummel Tower on Harvey Gummel Road in Hampstead, Voting District 2. Kohler Power Systems was awarded a competitively bid contract through Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Consortium, which Fidelity is an authorized dealer. This amount is approved in the fiscal year 25 budget.
Commissioners, Harvey Gummel Tower site plays an essential role for the communication infrastructure throughout the county. Due to the critical nature of this operation, it's important that the generator replacement schedule is to be followed. This replacement does fall within our county comprehensive overall general replacement of the generators throughout Carroll County. Fidelity has done multiple installs for the county and facilities in the past, and I feel they can get this job done fairly easy for us.
I move the Board of Commissioners approve the purchase and installation of one Kohler diesel generator for the Harvey Gummel Tower to Fidelity Power Systems in the amount of $89,965.61.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
All right. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Last but not least, Fire Department equipment testing.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
Good award ceremony and party.
Yes.
Thank you.
The Office of Procurement, in cooperation with the Department of Fire EMS, requests your approval to award a contract for fire department equipment testing to IIA Fire Department Testing in the amount of $85,423. This purchase will be made via Frederick County, Virginia contract that was competitively bid. This amount is approved in the fiscal year 25 budget.
So annually, we're required under National Fire Protection Association standards to test fire hose, pumps, and ladders at all 14 of the county's fire companies. This also impacts everybody's insurance coverage. So this is actually a mandate. We've utilized this company in past years, and this is going to begin almost immediately.
Motion to approve the contract for fire department equipment testing at IIA Fire Department Testing in the amount of $85,423.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. So this is one of the things that individual fire companies would have had to do.
Yeah,
in the
they used to do this on their own, and prior to DFEMS being established, we actually had about 5 different vendors, and it was all inconsistent. And we're also required to maintain the record centrally should we be audited, which we do.
You're standardizing it and hopefully saving us money.
Yes, absolutely.
Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on the phone or in the building?
I have no public commenters on the line, sir.
Okay. Admin session open. Does anybody have any items they want to discuss?
No, sir.
Agenda review.
Morning, Wanda. How are you?
Good morning.
Doing well, thank you.
Okay, Monday, May 5th shows nothing. Tuesday, May 6th, 8 a.m., Commissioner Vigliotti is going to entertain Commissioners Kyler Rothstein and himself. At 7 p.m., there's a public hearing, proposed budget at Carroll County Arts Council in Westminster, and our 5 commissioners will be there. Wednesday, May 7th, doesn't show any items. Thursday, May 8th, 8 a.m. closed admin, 9 a.m. open session. Priority Carroll National Travel and Tourism Week proclamation. Baltimore Gas and Electric briefing. And that's primarily on the power line that goes down 140.
Mostly, at least.
Item 3, I'm sorry, I'm thinking why I didn't look at the briefing paper and know that. Item 3, Consolidated Transportation Plan, the Carroll's priority letter. That's a follow-up to the presentation we had. Next item, authorizing $8 million in bond allocation to the state's DHCD's Maryland Mortgage Program on behalf of Carroll County. Approval of 2 fire company loans. Independent Financial Auditing Services. Fort Smart Server Upgrade. Purchase and installation of replacement parks for Freedom District Water Treatment Plant Plate Settler. Demolition and interior design renovations. Public comment, admin open, agenda review. 5 p.m. is the Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year. Commissioners Gordon, Kyler, and Rothstein. Friday, May 9th shows no activities. On Saturday, May 10th, 21st Annual Convention of Carroll County Volunteer Emergency Services at Harney, Commissioner Gordon. At 6 p.m., 36th graduation of electrical apprenticeship program. Commissioners Gordon and Kyler. And we can talk about it. I may have a conflict for
Okay.
that, and if you're sure you're going.
I'm pretty sure, so we can make that work.
And then Commissioner Kyler has the podcast, but I can't lay that off on anybody else. I guess I gotta do it. The following week, Monday, May 12th, Transit Advisory Council, Commissioner Kyler. Tuesday, May 13th, solar hearing evidentiary for Chaberton Solar and Beartooth, 1410 Old Westminster Road, Commissioner Kyler. And I think that we can just listen to.
Yeah, that would be streamed on YouTube, and you can just listen.
Yes. 1 p.m., Board of County Commissioners open session, adopted budget work session, and they have no public comment, correct? So we should probably say that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, is there a reason why it's in the afternoon versus starting in the morning? Or why 1 o'clock p.m., say like 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. solar hearing? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just curious as all, because typically we do them in the mornings. Just curious.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. If there's some way to change it and you'd prefer it in the morning, we can look into doing that.
Yeah, I mean, the one reason hopefully is so I can listen to the
Gotcha.
solar
Okay.
hearing.
Okay. No, I was just curious.
Yeah. 7 PM, Ag Center Board Meeting, Commissioner Kyler. Wednesday, May 14th, Farm Museum Board Meeting, Commissioner Vigliotti. Board of Education meeting, shows none of us attending. Carroll County Adult Drug Treatment Court graduation, Commissioners Gordon, Kyler, and Rothstein. Westminster FFA banquet, Commissioners Gordon, Kyler, and Rothstein. On Thursday, 8 a.m. closed admin, 9 a.m. open session. Emergency Medical Services Week proclamation. Consolidated Transportation Plan. Is that a duplicate? Do we need that twice?
It's, if needed, next to the item 2.
Yeah, but, okay.
Yeah, you'll only have
I
one.
mean, in theory, we're gonna handle that the week before. Public comment, admin open, agenda review. Friday shows no activities. Saturday, May 17th is Hampstead Day. And Commissioner Kyler has, in theory, they don't tell you much ahead of time, but I've asked for a 30-foot area. So if anybody's interested in piggybacking that, you're welcome to bring a sign or your body or whatever. Sunday, May 18th, Commissioner Gordon is doing the podcast. Grim Gold Park Youth Fishing Rodeo Awards presentation, Commissioner Guerin. And Eagle Scout Court of Court of Honor for Evan French, Commissioner Kyler. That is at American Legion 200 in Hampstead, and anybody that wants is welcome to attend. And that's all I have. So we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.